this event and share my story with everyone. And I know there'll be some more great events just like this that celebrate the interwoven tapestry that is the Grand Prairie business community. I want to thank my good friend, Andrew Fortune, for your leadership and stressing the importance of diversity and inclusion in the Grand Prairie business community. I'm excited to wish Chair-elect Fuller the best of luck at the start of her new term. Please never hesitate to reach out to me or my staff. We're always happy to help out.
Well, thank you so much. Yes, you know, we are so proud about how diverse our chamber, not only the business members, but also our board are. And we've got a number of board members, and just probably too many to point out, and I'll probably miss someone. But thanks so much, board members and our branding irons, who are our welcoming arm of the chamber. They're here on the call as well. So I'm so appreciative of all of them taking the time to come and hear a little bit from you. So, you know, I just want to get started from the basics. Where did you grow up? Were you from around here?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Dallas. Actually, in District 104 was where actually my parents, when they first moved here together from Mexico, they moved into actually District 104 in a little town called Cockrell Hill. So it sits, you know, kind of right in the middle of the district. And so it's, I mean, we had some family that actually, that whole little block was, you know, was just my entire family. And so they stayed with some family there until, you know, they were able to get on their feet. And they ended up, you know, I think in a couple of years bought their own home, also in District 104. And so I went to elementary school in the district. It's now called Barbara Jordan. It used to be called Jefferson Davis. Thank God they changed the name. But I've gotten to go back recently, and so that was pretty neat. And later on, I went to high school at Duncanville High School. We moved over to kind of that area, and then you know, I just couldn't stay away from the district, and so I ended up buying my first home here, you know, and later in life, and have my law firm and stuff there. But yeah, I mean, my parents, you know, they moved here, you know, in pursuit of the American dream. A reason why a lot of people choose to come to the United States. You know, and so, you know, you mentioned in my bio that, you know, I credit my work ethic, my, you know, ambition to them, because they've worked their entire lives, you know, and, you know, to give me and my siblings a better life and a different opportunity that they didn't have, you know, growing up in Mexico. And so, you know, I feel like that the root of who makes Jessica, you know, for me, it's, you know, my parents started a Mexican snack business when I was about 4, and they still have it. So it's been around for about 35 years, and I'm showing my age.
What's it called? Tell us first. Tell us what it's called.
The company's called Gonzalez Food Products, but okay. the brand is called Mex Snacks.
Okay.
So I'm sure you've probably seen it. You probably just maybe never noticed it, but we're actually in 7-Elevens and Buc-ee's. You know, I think it's called the Flying J's, Walmart's, and so we're pretty out there. And so it's been pretty neat to kind of just see the business, you know, start from just one product. And so, you know, when I've talked to my dad about, you know, just starting his business and what the struggle was, right, being a business owner, because it is very tough. And you know, the demographics in Dallas during that time, he noticed that it was changing, right? It was diversifying. There were more and more brown people in the area, and there was a demand for Mexican snacks. And nobody was meeting that demand. And so he decided that, you know, my dad always worked tons of jobs. Like he's like literally a jack of all trades, because there's nothing my dad hasn't done. And, you know, during that time, he, you know, decided just to take that chance. And so we had one product, one size, and it was, you know, basically my mom and my dad and my aunt and my uncle and me and my brothers and my sister. You know, and my dad did everything from, you know, the recipe to, you know, getting the machine made that he needed to produce the chips and the spices. And, you know, he went out there. I mean, so he did everything from, you know, making the product down to, you know, trying to pitch it to stores. And, you know, a lot of people didn't know what it was. They were like, well, what is this snack? And so he'd, you know, go to stores, and, you know, the goal is to, you know, hopefully a store will give you some space for you to you know, to put your product there, and hopefully it picks up, right? And, you know, he tells me the story that people didn't know what the snack was. And so he got turned away, but he kept going back, and he kept going back. And finally somebody said, okay, fine, you know, you use that one little part of, this rack, and that's kind of just where, our family business started. And it's incredible to see how it's grown. I mean, it's still a family business. My mom and dad, still work. My brothers work there, and so it's been a large part of my life, and also just keeping my family, close. And so that's been, something special for me. I help them with the, legal matters. And so I'm, very involved in, in the family business as well. So I don't know if so that's kind of where my family, my childhood, I spent a lot of time, packaging chips and, yeah, and sometimes sleeping in the desk drawer when I was, when I was younger. But yeah, I mean, that is what I feel like what made me me. And just hearing my dad's story and seeing my parents just work really hard, had instilled in me that never give up. Even if somebody says no, you keep trying, and eventually you'll get there.
Yeah, because no doesn't always mean never. It means not now. And so I'm glad your dad kept it up. So one thing that I wonder too is,
can I comment on that? Can
Yeah.
I comment on that? Go Panthers. Did I hear you say that you graduated from Douglasville High School?
I did.
That's exciting. That was where I started teaching many years ago. But were you in any electives there, land or?
I was in the healthcare, the HOSA, or no, it's not called HOSA, but the healthcare occupations. So I wore little blue scrubs and went to the hospital. I wanted to be a doctor back then.
Okay, cool. Well, that's cool. That's a nice connection. So, I was wondering, did your family, okay, there's a kind of a two-part question. So in Mexico, when your parents were there, did they do any of this kind of food product stuff, or was it that it was new when they got here? They decided to do it new when they got here. And then
yeah.
Was it as a result of, was there an issue with them being able to find work being native Spanish speakers, or was it just like they were just entrepreneurs to begin with?
Well, my mom, so my dad was born in Mission, Texas. So it's like right there on the border. My mom was born in Mexico. My dad was pretty much, he was raised in Mexico, but we had family that lived in California, and, some family that lived up north. And my dad came to, during the summers, him and his brothers and his dad, and they would go to wherever there was work. So they would work out in the fields. So my dad, he's bilingual, coming to the States. He's probably more fluent now. But yeah, my mom, her English is still, but yeah, my dad just found work where, he was a truck driver. Like I said, he worked in the fields. He was a DJ. He's also a musician, and so he did that on the side. So he was at work a lot when I was growing up, because he wanted my mom to, raise it, to kind of just be with the kids when they were younger. Mm-hmm. But, I know she did some work with some work at a tapestry, or like building couches or something. But back in Mexico, the town is known for its oranges. So they have a big orange festival. And so she actually worked in the packaging plant there.
Okay. Well, so what led you to law? Because I think that law is what funneled you into the position you are today, most likely.
Yeah. So I started after I graduated from Douglasville High School. My parents, I think their expectation was that I was going to go into the family business. I think they eventually wanted me to kind of take over and run it. I really wanted to go to school. I liked learning new things. They would have preferred that, I kind of just stick with the family business and focus there. And so there was a little struggle there in trying to convince them, because, I'm the youngest of four. And typically, when you're the youngest female, especially in a Latino household, you don't move out until you get married, right? And so, it took a lot of arm twisting, and I started out going to community college. So I went to Mountain View, and I went to several others, and I worked part-time. So I, worked part-time, and then I would also help my parents at their business. And so I just kind of took the basics, not really knowing what I was going to eventually do. And I thought that I wanted to go in the medical field. I pursued firefighting for a while, so I did go to EMT school and got my certification in that. And then, you know, a lot of that was, you know, thought about joining the military. I mean, I guess I'm like my father, and you know, Jill of all trades versus Jack of all trades. And there was an incident that happened one time that I was on my way to school, and I had gotten hit by another car, and it was over there near Highland Park. And so my car was pretty much totaled, and it was like it was brand new. It was like a month old or something. And so my mom and my sister came to pick me up, and you know, came to my aid. And my mom doesn't speak English, and so my mom didn't understand why the police was treating me the way they were treating me. You know, not allowing me to give my version of the story. And so, you know, she was, you know, mama bear. And so she was like, why are they treating like you're a criminal, like you did something wrong? And the officer started threatening that he was going to arrest her if she didn't stop speaking Spanish. And so that I was like, what, you can't arrest her for speaking Spanish. And then I got scared, right? Because it's like, I didn't want to go to jail either. And, you know, I was younger. And that really, for me, it made me feel helpless, and because that's my mom, right? And so I said, well, I wanted to be a voice that people would listen to. And so naturally, I don't know, I thought of lawyers. You know, I was like, well, people listen to lawyers, right? You know, with the intention of not necessarily practicing law. I wanted to use that just more so to do advocacy work, maybe some policy work. And so that was kind of my focus. I wasn't planning on taking the bar, even right when I was graduating. But when I was in law school, when I was at DOJ, one of my mentors there said, don't make the same mistake that I did. Take the bar exam. You never know if you're going to, you know, maybe want to practice later. And look at me now. I mean, I'm a trial lawyer, right? So, yeah, I think I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
No. So that's what brought you to it. Was that event?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
yes,
I wondered.
was that. Yeah. And then I ended up going to Michigan. You know, it was, again, one of those things that I applied to several schools, and, you know, I didn't get admitted to pretty much almost all of them. And so, you know, I really wanted to stay close, you know, close to my family. And I had somebody, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Adelfa Callejo. She passed away, but, you know, I think she was the first Latina to graduate from SMU Law School in their part-time program. And so I met with her one time because I wanted to, she had a job opening, and she called me to tell me that she was not going to offer me the job because I was overqualified, but that she wanted to meet me because she thought my resume was impressive and wanted to see how she could help me. So that's you know, that's also been a big, you know, a large part of, you know, the I guess the trajectory of my life is, you know, mentors that have taken the time to, you know, to just watch out for my best interest, or they saw something in me and just kind of push me. Because, you know, my parents, they didn't have an education here in the United States. And so it's very different. And so they don't know how to navigate it, right? They don't know what the steps are about SATs or ACTs and, you know, and things like that. So I kind of, you know, had to do it on my own. But, you know, she was like, if you want to go to law school, just get in somewhere that, you know, that is ABA, you know, accredited. And if you want to transfer, you can transfer later. And so I did just that. And so she's like, just apply to all the law schools that have free applications. And I said, okay. And then I ended up going to, and actually my law school, initially they denied my admission, but they had a program that is supposed to, you test your way in, right? The professional exploration program, which I'm actually glad that I did that because it really gave you the idea of, you know, kind of an idea of what law school was going to be like. And there were folks that participated in the program and, you know, dropped out like day 2 because they were like, okay, I don't want to go to law school anymore. And so I got accepted there and I ended up moving there. And you know, it's actually considered the largest law school in the country because they have several campuses and the most diverse. So that was pretty, you know, cool to experience because you hear these sometimes awful stories of law school, and it's like, oh no, my law school was very diverse, right? And so I went out to Michigan, and it's cold there. You were talking about the snow earlier, and but, you know, all you really need is a good down coat and some snow boots, and you're good to go. But you know, always when I give advice to younger people or people that are thinking about, you know, maybe moving away for, you know, for college or something like that, I always recommend to take that opportunity, especially if you don't have anything tying you down, right? Because later, once you start getting old, and then it's like you really can't just get up and go. But that right there, I mean, you know, just opened up, you know, several opportunities for me. I mean, that's how I ended up going to DC, and you know, eventually went to Las Vegas and was out there running the voter protection program for the Obama re-election campaign. That was one of the hardest jobs I've ever had. And eventually I wanted to move back home and just kind of bring back what I learned out in DC, and, you know, just kind of start, you know, relaying my roots here. And, you know, and in the back of my head, I always kind of aspired to run for office one day. But I was thinking more so like maybe city council or something. And that was actually what I was thinking about. Somebody put the bug back into my head about running for office, a city councilwoman that had served, you know, previously. And the council member in my district was about to term out. And so she kind of took me around to different events to start meeting some people. And somebody mentioned, well, what about you run for state representative? Like that would suit you better. You'd be able to do a lot more. And I said, well, I don't know. And finally, I just, you know, with my business, it's really hard when you have a business too, because, you know, trying to manage both. I mean, it's be a full-time job, and, you know, being away from your business, and you can't become a millionaire also on being the salary that we get. So, you know, it is really hard, you know, for many people to make that decision to run for office, because, you know, trying to maintain your home and then, you know, traveling back and forth can be very difficult. But, you know, I love it. And, you know, even though it's giving me a lot more gray hair and maybe some wrinkles here and there, you know, I'm really enjoying my second term.
Well, and I was thinking, you know, you have to be passionate about what you're doing, I think, to make it work, right? I mean, you can't just walk in. And along with that passion, there probably comes a little bit of, I don't want to say anxiety, or guilt, but, you know, you have that pressure too, because you are representing so many people. And with that passion brings that urge and that desire to make sure that you're doing the job right, and that you're accessible, and that you're making changes and leading positive stuff. And that brings me to, you know, in the end of your bio, it talks about you're the vice chair of the Texas House LGBTQ Caucus. So tell me, like, can you expound on, you know, was there another experience with that, life experience or incident or anything that really made you really want to sit up and say, I'm here for this and I'm going to help on this cause?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a story, and you know, my mom didn't realize that she was empowering me when she was doing this, and she probably like, dang it, why, you know, but I was outed when I was in high school by my best friend, and I still wasn't even sure like what, you know, I was still confused about it, and you know, next thing I knew was, you know, the entire school knew. And, you know, and kids are cruel, and I think it's gotten better now, but you know, I got picked on, and, you know, my car got vandalized, and it was awful. And so, you know, as a kid, you know, and I mean, so that's why, like, I always advocate for kids that, especially like with bullying and things like that, because a lot of kids can't handle that. And, you know, we hear of unfortunate situations that happen with, you know, kids committing suicide because of, you know, being bullied. But, you know, fortunately for me, that, you know, I that wasn't the case. But my mom noticed that I was acting, you know, kind of just strange, I guess, or just maybe a little depressed or something. And hey, what's going on? And we were in the car, and I was picking her up from work. And I said, well, you know, people at school are saying that I'm gay. And I mean, I knew that I was, and, you know, but it was like, how am I going to tell my mom? I'm going to tell my parents. And, you know, and she said, you know what, if they're going to judge you for that, and people are going to stop being your friend because you're gay, you know, then you don't need those people as your friends. So go to the store, we'll go to the salon and cut all your hair off, and then go to school tomorrow and tell them that you are, because, you know, and I was like, okay. And so we turned in the parking, this parking lot, and went to this salon, and I cut my hair off, short, and went to school the next day, and I did just that. And, a lot of the bullying stopped after I just stood up for myself. And, for me, it's like, it was that moment that, I should never be afraid of who I am, and never be afraid to stand up for, stand up for things. And so, she didn't know that she was empowering me in that way. And, but yeah, and that was also, again, there, people, I mean, it still exists. Discrimination still exists, and that was one of the things that I had to think about when I was thinking about running. And is that going to be something that people, I don't know, are going to say ugly things about? And, because also your family, right? And it also ties your family into those things. And so that was part of my decision-making process. But, my district, has, or it's just changed so much, and people, is just more progressive, and is very LGBTQ friendly. A big part of it is Dallas, and the other part is, Grand Prairie. But it was never an issue that came up. And so when I joined the House, or when I won my primary, we knew that I was going to be joining. And so that was going to be the first time that we've ever had, 3 open LGBTQ members that served at the same time. And then November came around, and then we got 2 more. And so, we had 5 of us. And so, the LGBT community in Texas got really excited. They felt hopeful. And so I know I was being asked, are you guys going to start a caucus now? And the people wanted it. And so we decided in a hallway one day, after we're taking a picture, that, so we're going to do this or what? And so we started a caucus. And so I'm serving my second term as vice chair of the caucus. And this session, I made it my top priority to focus on a comprehensive non-discrimination legislation, with the hopes of at least passing it through the Texas House. We're going to continue working on that until we get the governor to sign it one day. And so I'm not sure if folks on this call are familiar with the legislation that I'm working on. We haven't filed it yet, but it's backed up by an economic study that was done by Dr. Ray Perryman, who is an expert on these issues, and it actually shows that hey, embracing diversity and inclusion is not only the right thing to do, but it actually is really, really good for business. And it puts money in our local coffers and state coffers, especially at a time that we really need it. It creates tons and tons of jobs. And so, I mean, we saw, what happened with the bathroom bill, for example, when they were pushing that legislation. There were lots of businesses that, stopped doing business here. There are lots of conferences that were canceled because people don't want to go do business or be a part, of things like in a state that is going to discriminate, against the LGBT community. And so, it does, as far as like tourism and things like that, I mean, it does show that it is good for business. I mean, that should be the reason why we should pass, legislation like that. But I mean, it's the right thing to do, and, and it's good for the economy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad. And I was just thinking how broad your experience was in the beginning when you got in the car accident, and it was because of your skin color and your mom speaking Spanish, that situation. And then that kind of funneled in on you in high school. And so I'm so glad. I kind of see it as you like kind of grab that arrow and pulled it out, and I'm going to break it and do stuff. So I'm so happy to hear that. And it's so great to have such, for you to have experiences that back up the cause and the passion. And that even if you get tired or if it gets difficult, you've been there. And so you're going to continue to work on the behalf of everyone, but particularly in these causes where injustices are done. So, so you're being a female and in being a political person hasn't really been much of an issue, I'm assuming.
No. Not in my experience.
That's good. Well, that's good. I'm glad that we're past that time too. So when you got started and you wanted to run for office, I mean, would you recommend that to the person that is passionate about the things that are going on in their community? Like, what would you say to somebody who has a passion about something going on?
That's thinking about running for office?
Mm-hmm.
do it and keep doing it until you win. I mean, we need more diversity in the legislature for sure, but even just with local government. I mean, I don't think people realize how important like city council races are, how these local races are, because that's what impacts you on every day. They determine when your trash gets picked up, and the fees that you pay for it, and so those are all really important things to think about. I mean, it's scary to make that decision, but if you have the support, especially like, for me, it was, my family support and my law partner, and that's really important, because, I mean, it can get tough when you're campaigning, or it can get tough when you're doing the job, and, being able to have that support, that moral support back at home, can really keep you from going insane, or keep you from giving up, because sometimes it's like, what did I get myself into? So that's really important. But I mean, if that support there exists, and you want to run for office, I would do it, and just start doing it now.
So have you had any, I'm guessing you probably have, I don't know, but have you had kiddos or other adults or somebody that has seen you in your position that's reached out to let you know? Have you inspired anything or helped anything? Have you had any of that kind of feedback?
Yeah, I mean, I always like to mentor people. So, I mean, after my first campaign, I mean, I've done several, just like kind of things like this, right? That folks that are interested in running want to ask some questions. I have had some folks that kind of followed my initial campaign and inspired them, to run for something local. So that's pretty neat. Like in my race, I actually ran against a longtime Democrat incumbent. So that was, kind of a different kind of pushback that you see, because, you're not supposed to run against anybody in your own party. But, it's, I felt like I could have done it. I felt that I was going to do a better job, and that there was so much that was going on with, that businesses that needed more assistance, right? And then affordable housing issues in the district, and and things like that, like especially like in the Bishop Arts area. I know Grand Prairie is growing a lot too, and I think it's great. But we have to find a way that we encourage economic development, but that we're also not pushing people in those communities out that want to be there, right? And so, but yeah, I mean, I would always encourage anybody to get involved. There's many ways you can get involved, even in the work that we do here in the legislature. Even if you're not in Austin, when legislation comes up that that you're interested in, or maybe affects your business, or things like that, and there are ways that you can submit your opposition or support virtually now with the pandemic and stuff too.
So you mentioned also about the affordable housing. I'm really interested in that. In Grand Prairie, we have a lack of affordable housing. Can you give me just some insight on, what kind of things you're trying to do in your district, or the things, just a little bit about that?
Yeah, we felt some last session. It's unfortunately, it is difficult to move legislation like that. For some reason, the word affordable housing is like a cuss word to some people on the other side of issues that I work on, because I think they automatically associate like crime, right? And so that's been a struggle in trying to have those conversations and to get that support because of that. But I know there are several of us that, I mean, it's a widespread issue everywhere, and so I think it's been something that policy folks and lawmakers have been trying to figure out. But yeah, I mean, I'm always open to any ideas. I mean, always feel free to reach out to my office. That's the way that we're able. We get these ideas from folks all the time about legislation.
Well, and I think it's important, and I think you touched on it too, that that affordable housing, just as you mentioned, I mean, it's not. I think people forget that pay doesn't go up as fast as the cost of living does, and it can be a perfectly respectable person that can no longer afford to live, maybe even in the place independently where they grew up. I mean, that's why you see families living with families or people couch surfing, that kind of thing, because times get away from them, and for whatever reason, they can't, you know, land gets scraped off with the older stuff and new stuff comes up and it's way out of range. So yeah, interesting point. And you mentioned too about reaching out, and I know you have 2 places that we can look for you online. One is jessicafortexas.com, and then one is your house website, which if you go and look on the Texas House, it's house.texas.gov/members and /member-page, and then we can find your name there. So, and it's at that house website, right, that the contact stuff is, like where we can submit information or questions and things like that.
Yeah, and on that same page, you know, you can click around and you can see legislation that I've filed this session.
Okay.
You can kind of track some stuff on there to see, you know, if it's gotten to committee yet, and you know, things like that. Okay,
great. Well, I'm going to ask you if you have any general message you'd like to give to us, and then open the floor for any questions, because I'm sure our audience has some questions. Is there?
No, I mean, I feel like I've been talking this whole time, so I'll take some questions if anyone has any.
Okay, super. So y'all, I'm going to switch out of speaker view so I can see if you guys want to raise your hand physically or speak up. Gerald.
How you doing? Good morning, Jessica. Hope you're having a good day. I had to get a second dose of coffee. Excuse my lighting. My laptop, so I have this midnight light going on. I really enjoy your passion about the subjects that you talk about. And one of the things I was kind of interested in hearing about is you're on the task force for human and civil rights. And we're working with GPISD on their Justice, Equity, Inclusion Task Force. So I want to kind of see how you guys organize that, and how do you address issues with that. And then the second thing is how do you navigate in this time where it's so polarizing, the political environment?
As far as the task force, I got appointed this past year, and unfortunately, like with the pandemic and things like that, I mean, we haven't really been able to do a lot as far as the task force goes. But, the idea, right, when we have is to share, just policy ideas of like what different states are doing. It's a group of all legislators. And so it kind of brings all of us together. We have like conferences and things like that to compare, like, well, hey, in my state, they're doing this, and how were you able to get that passed? Or, how were you able to do that? And so, I mean, really that exchange of ideas that, things going on in different states, can really help you in the work that you're doing in your prospective state, if that's, one of the issues that you want to work on. I don't know if that answered your question completely.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, how do you, because I know it's so polarizing, one of the things that we often talk about is how, if I care about you and I care about me, we can disagree, but as long as we know that's where it's coming from, then we can have a long-standing relationship. How do you bring people back to kind of a moderate point of view? Because right now it seems like people are standing on opposite sides of the wall, and we're not coming to the middle to work together.
Yeah. I mean, if you find the answer to that, tell me. No, I mean, unfortunately, I mean, there's so many issues that we see that right there politicized for no reason, right? There's racial issues, LGBTQ issues. But I think, right, having conversations with folks and just humanizing the issue. I can speak to, when talking to my colleagues, here at the House, right? And starting the LGBTQ caucus, for example, and being at the table in these discussions, right? That's why, I mean, that's also why the importance of diversity is so important on, and on these bodies, right? Because you bring a different voice to the table, and you bring up, something that maybe somebody else never really thought about. And really a lot of it is just, again, humanizing the issue, right? You and I can disagree on a whole host of things, But you know, I got elected just the same way that you did, right? And you want my support on your legislation, just like I want, you know, like vice versa. And so, you know, I think that the more that we again, like, humanize it, we talk about it. You know, I believe that, you know, eventually, you know, you change minds, you change hearts, right? Or change hearts and they change minds. And a lot of that is engaging in those conversations. And, you know, and it's clearly, obviously, doesn't happen overnight, but, you know, that's the importance of, you know, serving in the House, for example, where, you know, it is the majority, you know, are older, you know, are you know, white men. And so having more women, having more people of color, people of different backgrounds, I mean, they're all important, you know, because we want to be representative of the state. And so, you know, I think it's a struggle. You know, these are some of the issues that I know that, like, MALC, the Mexican American Legislative Caucus, you know, that we talk about, the Black Caucus, you know, and so, you know, we're doing, you know, our best to try to have that conversation, right, like what you were saying. But, you know, it is a struggle.
Right, right. And oftentimes I find that diversity does not always imply inclusion, because you can be diverse, but not necessarily inclusive. And that's one of the things that we're trying to work on now, is to make sure that we can be a diverse body, but if we're not talking to each other, we're not inclusive. Instead of having 10 separate tables, let's have one table where we share ideas. So definitely, hey, we wanted to stay in touch, and definitely check out our website, because there's so many fronts that we probably would love to partner with you on.
Perfect.
And he's definitely, Gerald Hodges is also on our board of directors right now for the Grand Prix Chamber, and worked for the Grand Prix Police Department prior to working in his new role with the city. And he's a fantastic person, so I definitely recommend you guys working together. I think you guys would really hit it off. Are there any other questions out there? Comments? Yes, Martin, another one of our board members.
Well, I just wanted to thank you for coming on with this. Your story is inspiring. You know, to remember what it was like going through high school and being picked on, going through high school and living through that, and understanding what it's like to have parents that, you know, had very limited education. And my mother was born in Mexico. My father was born in Lytle, Texas, another little small town. Down there, border town, you know, and it's just, you know, to deal with those issues as young Hispanic kids, you know, coming through. We speak better English than we do Spanish sometimes. I sat at a dinner table where my mother spoke full Spanish to us, my father spoke full English to us, and we just carried that kind of conversation on just as a normal. But when you brought those real problems home from middle school, from high school, and they just didn't know how to kind of decipher that. The only way they knew to kind of translate that was to help feed us with a little bit of pride and some encouragement, and just kind of dealing with it on a kind of real level. And we had to figure out a way to make that work for us as kids, you know, in high school. And so to hear you go through that, and for her to have that type of support, and kind of grow the way you did, it sets our path for us. You know, we become fighters. We become, you know, sometimes all it takes is for someone to say you can't, and we do. So as a business owner here in Grand Prairie, I really appreciate everything that you do, and it does inspire me to come back in and just to continue. I've tried to be as active as I can in our community. It's really difficult sometimes because of the business. So you're torn between the two, and it's just, you got to have passion. If you don't have that passion, you're just never going to get there. So thank you for coming on with us, and I really appreciate everything you do for us.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any more comments? Thanks so much, Martin. Comments or questions? Maria, yes.
Yes, thank you, Representative Gonzalez, for all that you have shared. What I can tell you is that I am a Mexican mom, and yes, I have two children that they are already making me so happy and so proud about. But I do I do see myself on you and your parents, and also I see my children on you, which is really, really good. It is a matter of time whenever that the struggles or any kind of things that happen to us in life. That's my thinking. When anything that has happened to us in life, whenever that the real call that we have, it's gonna show, and it's gonna fight against anything. So I do see that all your work towards the community and towards presenting such a great things for everybody, not only Hispanic, but for everybody on the seat that you are right now. I do see that there is that the presence of that call that an attorney, that a politician, that a woman, that a gay person has. I mean, I have no words to tell you how much I admire you, and I admire your career, and I do want for my children to have something similar, or to be somebody like you. Honestly, I understand your parents. We came here, whoever is an immigrant, at the time that we come here, it is, we are destined to work as anybody else, but doing any kind of job that we cannot imagine. And if besides that, your parents did so good in order for you to lead you to the place that you are at, and also you helping them with the business, everything is related. Everything is working towards a good universal, I don't know, destiny, let's call it. But this represents a lot of your efforts, and my respect, and thank you so much for this that you have shared.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Anybody else have anything, any questions? Yes, Haley.
Okay, I just wanted to make a quick comment that something that reminds me of you, and I think this is really special, and I know that you would love to know this, Representative Gonzalez, is that everybody that I've spoken to around Grand Prairie here, when they mention you, they say friend. And sometimes even they don't even say Representative Gonzalez, they just say my friend Jessica. I know you've attended some of the events with us. You've come to a couple luncheons, and I believe you attended Community Awards last year, and it was a lot of fun. But when Ms. Carrillo, Gloria Carrillo, called, she said, I would like to add another person to my list. It's my friend Jessica. And I'm like, okay, but she's not saying Representative Gonzalez, you're just friend. And so I think it's really awesome that everybody knows you as a friend and not just a state representative. So I just wanted to let you know that. I think it's really cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is great. That is great. Staying in touch. Greg, did you have a question? I thought I saw your hand up. We're going to go sideways first.
Yeah. Okay. Jessica, I'm an immigrant from Minnesota, but does Paxton and Dan Patrick drive you crazy?
A little bit. Just a little bit. So if somebody wants to run in that, run for those positions, I'll be the first one to support you.
Okay.
Oh, thanks, Greg. Any other questions? Comments?
Go ahead, Andrew.
Representative Gonzalez, I'm so sorry that I had to join late. I really appreciate you doing this and always being a great supporter of the city and the chamber. One thing I just wanted to let everybody know on the call, we've worked with the representative here recently. Equity has been a big issue with this pandemic, the way that it has hit certain communities, down to how vaccines are being prioritized, and even in some places in the United States. And so our representative, she has been, and her office has been phenomenal in helping advocate for Grand Prairie to receive vaccines. And so I just wanted to thank you so much for all the work that you and your office are doing on that, and let everybody know on the call that she has been a great advocate for us and has really been a voice for us down there in Austin on that.
Of course, anytime.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Andrew.
Can I just applaud her? I mean, that's what we need a whole another hour for, is to just say how amazing you are. I mean, going from an immigrant feeling like a visitor to becoming an elected representative, that you're representing the underserved, right? The people who are historically disenfranchised. And it's just amazing and inspiring And if you ever want to get plugged into another group, I know that Michelle's daughter has gone, I think for like at least 1 year, to Young Women's Leadership Academy here in Grand Prairie. It would be in your district. It's in eastern, like northeast Grand Prairie. But I'd love to get you over there, or Zoom, or just anything, because I think your message can inspire a lot of young girls who feel that same way. I mean, you give me goosebumps. So just thank you for taking time out of your day, because I know it's very busy, but you're awesome. Please don't ever stop running for office.
Of course, anytime. And yeah, let me know about that event over in Grand Prairie. I can't say no to little kids either. So.
And we have another question from Michael Warner. I'm sorry, Michael, if your hand was up.
Yeah, no problem. No, it wasn't a question. It was just a comment and just an affirmation. Representative Gonzalez, it was amazing hearing your story. Thank you so much for just sharing. Something that took a lot of courage and a lot of bravery to share. You know, and I truly believe that gay stories are human stories and gay rights are human rights. And so I just really want to affirm you for standing up for yourself, for other people, and also just marginalized communities, whether they're Latinx, whether they're gay, whatever the denomination is and whatever the belief is. I just want to thank you for the work that you're doing and just for sharing the work that you're doing for the community of Grand Prairie. It was just wonderful to hear you, and I just support everything that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice to have inspirational words. And this whole program, the Journey to Inclusiveness, getting there together, was born out of all the events that happened last summer. And so while we were away from the office working remotely on COVID, and of course all the George Floyd stuff happened, you know, I really felt like we have a great diverse community, one, and we have a diverse board of directors, which I'm so pleased. And here in Grand Prairie, we don't have a separate chamber of commerce for any other group. It's us, and it's all of us together, and that's the way it needs to be. We just all need to work together, and that's what it's about. So, you know, hearing somebody else in a powerful position like yourself be able to echo some of those ideas is really encouraging, especially in this day and age. So does anybody else have any other comments or questions?
I'd like to just thank Jessica. Hi, Jessica. It's Dr. Mathis. I just want to thank you as well. Listening to your testimony and to what you shared and just the strength in your mom, like high five to your mother. I'm not sure if you ever address school age children, middle school, high school, but I just think if you ever do that, you would empower so many young people that are struggling with some of the same just questions and just your strength. And it's, you know, just so empowering for, I think, them to know that, yeah, wow, I too can do this, you know, just having one more advocate in their corner to say, yes, believe in yourself. It doesn't matter. Like you said, kids are ugly. Right? They've always been ugly. They're going to continue to be ugly. So as long as we empower the youth to take the bull by the horns and just let them know words can hurt, but they won't stop you unless you let it stop you. So I just want to thank you for sharing. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I wanted to also say thank you. My daughter, she's 16. She was coming around the corner kind of listening. She wants to study law as well. So I was messaging her. I said, come over here and listen. But she was too shy to come say hi. So thank you.
Oh, well, tell her I said hi.
Well, wonderful. Any other questions or comments before we wrap up? It really has been really inspirational. I know we're all saying it, and you know, you probably hear it quite often, but truly it really, really is. And I appreciate you taking the time, because you know, this is a smaller group. We did record this, but you're reaching out to people, and we know, and I'm sure you know, you never know just how something like this, a comment and things like that, and knowing that you're doing things are going to affect all the people that are on this call today, and what goodness is going to go out from that. So kumbaya to all of us, because that's what I sound like. I know my board meetings start to sound like that too, but really feel that way. And I'm so appreciative, and it was such a pleasure. I think I met you in passing at our community awards last year, but this has just been really a thrill, and we're so grateful that you took the time, and thank your staff for helping us get this all organized, because I know everybody's busy. And with that, and unless you have another message or anything you'd like to close with, I think we're back.
Yeah, if it wasn't for my staff, I wouldn't be able to do my job. I mean, it's because of my staff that I'm able to just go to the floor and just be able to do my job here. Otherwise, there's no way. So thank you for for mentioning my staff. Yeah. But yeah, anytime, I'm always here. I know Andrew and I, we speak kind of often, so I'm always will make myself available for Grand Prairie. So
awesome. Well, with your permission, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this and post it to our YouTube page if you're all right with that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful. In case anybody wanted to be on the calling and missed it, but we want to thank you so much. And again, thank you for being here today with the Grand Prairie Chamber of Commerce. We will be back next month, and please check our website for any other events. And thank you so much, Representative Gonzalez.
of course, thank you.
Everybody
Bye.
have a great week. Thank you.